Hey guys, look at this. What a day for crypto. This is just against the dollar here. This is a whole lot of green. Look at that. I'm here working off of percentage change for the day. Just all the majors here. Just that that is remarkable. Look at all that's there's not a with the exception of Bitcoin to the dollar, there's not a single crypto down here amongst, I don't know, what have I got here, the top 100 coins. That's just absolutely remarkable. And then you take it over to Bitcoin, and look at this. I mean, it's the same thing. Alts are just rocking today. Look at all that green on the day. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. That is really amazing. So, as I was going through that, both the Bitcoin and the dollar, I look and see for commonality here, and I see Neo, which is that's a major crypto, 1.6 billion market cap. Look at the trading volume here. This is another thing that I'll often do is I want to organize it based on volume. Where is there the most activity? And we've already touched on Ethereum and Litecoin today. Ripple, that's just been such a dog. Although maybe we're getting signs of life there. But I see Neo here, and I hadn't looked at that in a bit since we had some failure on the last swing count. So here it is against the. What do we got here? Against we're up 18% against the dollar. Against Bitcoin, here we are, we're up 24%. So let's go over there and look at this. I thought there was maybe a good teachable moment here. So I'm on. This is the 1 hour. Let me go back to a 4 hour. Let's go back to a 4 hour. Okay, and have a look here. Well, okay, of course, we have to look at the fact that we are within an internal retracement of this swing high to low. So we got to consider that. We got to look at that and say, okay, well, here we are. So I put that on the low. We're a little shy of the 618 before we started this correction. So, we can look at this and, take note of this here. We get this, as you'd expect if I were to pull that over to the side, you've got this little box of support here, prior resistance. Maybe that's our one wave. This is our three, very deep ABC, and then now we're starting a new impulsive structure. So if that's the case, well, we can definitely get a nice five-wave sequence here for this first move up. So let me pull some of this off just to declutter the chart, since we have kind of made note of that. Now, a channel here, we see we've just gone through the channel, and take note where we go. Where do we find the resistance? I'm swinging from my B here, what I have labeled as a B here, down to the low. We go right to that 618. Now I'm going to redo it here because we've moved a little bit off of that, and now I go, that was the last time I drew it. Now I go from my B high, and now I'm just barely through. I'm just peeking through the 6.5, which is a good sign, but we got to consider this one as well. So, pulling from our absolute high here, which labeled as a 5, down to potentially what is a double bottom here. We're now just hitting the 50. We're getting through the 50. And, we're going to hit some resistance up here at the 618. Now, if we can get through that, then very good sign that we may have a low in here, a hard pivot that we can work from. And we would indeed be at this point, if you look at where we've gone here. So if I go from a completed five-wave structure, if I swing low to high, here's my 50. Here, if I wiggle it, here's my 50 right here. So we wicked through the 50 a couple times. We do not overlap the 1, although that's not relative to this count. It's just interesting, and that's a point of note always. We've got this little box down here. That's our 618 to the 6.5. And we're showing signs that we may be starting, because if this is our 1, if we go 1, 2, we got big targets up here. So if I put that wave on it, just so you get the idea, right? We've got some pretty big targets down here. So that is a contender. And if we just consider, our first algo target off of this 50, here's the -23, -618, which we'd be back challenging those old highs up here in the mid 50s. So lots of potential. So we'd love to see this. This has potential to be playing out quite nicely. So we got our very clear 5-wave sequence, impulsive move, then into an ABC. It's a little messy down here, but that's really where adding the Elliott wave component can be advantageous, because you could be ignoring the wave count and just be working off fibs, right? So you can always, if the Elliott it doesn't do it for you, you can always defer back to the fibs. As I will often say, it's fibs first. Elliott is just an enhancement. It allows you to fine-tune and time your entries a little bit better. But it's the fibs that rule, and it's the relationship of internal to external retracements that create the wave structure. So right now, Elliott aside, we've got a swing low to a high. We've gone to the 50, and we're starting to show some strong reaction to that. We got an algo target up here of -23. Now add the wave structure, and now we can look at this and say, well, can we get any more confidence in that low? Well, let's take a look at it. So we've got some sort of an A wave here. Then we go into our B. I'm going to take the channel off just to clear up the chart. So here we get a little. We get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leading diagonal into an A. It's a 3-wave structure into the B that goes a little deep, goes past the 7, 8, 6. But that still plays. So then this is maybe we get an A wave here, then we get an A, B, C. It's hard to say exactly. It doesn't really matter. What I can see is from my dominant swings, if I go. So I look at that, I'd want to work those relationships and look at from, all right, there's my A low, my B. I look here, and so there's my 100%. That's the most common target. Now, we've wicked through a couple of times, but that doesn't deter me from looking at this as a potential bottom here. The double bottom is a bullish sign, right? So when you get that kind of rejection from a double bottom, that's a very bullish sign. So, that's a contender. Well, now can we build any more evidence to confirm this as a hard low? So let's take that off, and what else have I got here? So let's take that one off here. So we'll clean it up. Now let's just look at the wave structure. Well, I'm going to go down to a 15-minute just to get a little micro tuning on this. Okay, so can we carve out a 5-wave sequence? Well, it's a diagonal, certainly, because we get some sort of here's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's leading diagonal into a 1-wave. Then we get a 2. Then this kind of ugly 3. We get a deep 4. All right, let's look at that relationship. So I'd want to look at the absolute high to the low here of this count. We're shy of the 618, but we're right in the pocket that you would expect for a 4. Then we come down here and we get this, again, this kind of ugly but tradable event here. So if I look at this, I get, okay, well here's a 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm just redo that again. Not quite right. Let's go again. So we go, here's our 1, 2, 3. There's the 4. We come down to the 5. So that works. And then you put it. Of course, you might put a channel on that and look at that. All right, that's starting to build a case. Well, do we have any swing relationships here that give me more confidence in this low over here? And I'm going to take the wave off just so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I would want to look at, I'm trying to determine whether or not that's a strong pivot, because remember, if we look back here, we didn't hit our -23 targets. Our algo targets have gone unmet. So this reaction here, while very encouraging, I want to get more confirmation in that as a pivot. So let me open this up. I'd want to look for the traditional swing relationships here. So I'd pull from my 1 low. We get to the 7, 8, 6. We get to the 23 to the tick. That's where we get the reaction for the 4. Well, then I'd want to pull from my absolute or my high here, my 4 wave, up to the 4, goes a few shy of the 50, and then boom, right to the negative 23. So clearly we got algo involvement here. So now, that's giving me confidence here. Then I'd want to look in a diagonal as we have here with the overlap of the 1 and the 4. We'd want to look at that relationship between the the start of the structure to the 3 low from the 4. There's our 618. So I get this little window shaping up down here. I've had multiple negative 23s. There's the 618, which is a common target for the 5th in a diagonal. So I've got good evidence to suggest that should be a solid pivot. So if I go back to my hourly, let me de-scrunch it. Okay, so we definitely have a contender here off of this double bottom and multiple targets. We've broken the channel, so looks to me like we're off to the races here with an impulse. So now with this creates the opportunity for a new trade to be setting up. So we pull this off. We don't need any of this anymore. We knew that was a good box. We've got our double bottom down here, so wrong one. So we don't know where that pivot stops, so we just pull from our low to our high. Let's scrunch again and evaluate that. Again, from high to my low. Okay, we're to and through the 50, good sign. Well, we're waiting for a retracement because this is likely some sort of an impulsive 1. It's not ultra clean, but we don't know that it's done yet. But if we start to get a pullback here, then this is where you'd be looking, somewhere around here. Vegas wave right through the middle of it. That's a nice place to be looking for it, but we don't have enough of a pullback here to say that we've got a one wave in, but we definitely have good signs of a low to work from, a count that works, that completes on multiple levels. Right? See, we complete it here on the hourly, we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down to the 15-minute, we get another diagonal to complete. So you've got an ending diagonal that finishes with an ending diagonal. Right? That's not uncommon. If this is our impulse, we're waiting for the 2. We got all sorts of upside as I drew it previously. If we're going to end up, and we don't know that that's our 1, but if we come down here, we got good upside here. So that's 1 to, you don't have to watch it all day. You just, come over here, set an alarm, or an alert as they call it on TradingView. Set an alert. I want to know when this comes back down and gets, here's some, see my alert right here. So I want to know if we're going to start, coming closer. I might even move that up if I can get a hold of it. You can, not going to let me do it. There we go. I might go up a little bit higher and say, okay, if it's going to come down, we're going to get close to this little structure here, this prior resistance. I want to know about that. I want to be alerted as a possible 2 entry, looking for the 3 of what looks like potentially a pretty nice trade. Now let's go over here, because if you look at it against Bitcoin, not quite as good, right? So we've got we've got this clean 5-wave structure down here, but if you look swing high to low, we've come a few ticks from the 50 and we're unresolved. So algos are pushing for that. Now, as I will often tell you, just because that's set up doesn't mean it gets there, that it has to get there. But what you can say is, well, if the only way, so a 5-wave suggests that the trend, well, at least currently, is down. So if this is going to play, we'd have to have, this would have to be an A, then a B, and then a C, and that really doesn't, you don't get enough clarity here, because you have, if you'll note here, I mean, you could work it this way in that you've got, this is an A wave, this would be your B, and then you have subdivision in that. So you'd have an A, B, let me do it for you so you see it. So this would be an A, a B, and then a C. Let me take that to a smaller degree. And let's put that in yellow. Okay, so do you see how I get an A, B, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I get subdivision here in my A wave. Then I get an A, B, and then I get subdivision within my C. I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete the complex ABC with subdivision into that C. All right, do you follow that? okay, right to the 50. And then if we're going down in a C, well, this would be a short target. So if we're looking at that relationship between, come here, if we're looking at this relationship between this A wave projected from this B wave, we're kind of in no man's land. We haven't, you know, there's really nothing there, so I'm a little suspect of that pivot. I could probably find some relationship within this 5 wave, so just the you know, the traditional stuff that we'll always do that should be second nature to you now. You know, we get to the 382, that's very common, right to the Vegas wave, that's very common for a 4th wave, but we come up a little shy on that pull down here. So I'm going to need to see, against Bitcoin, I'm going to need to see bigger action here. I want to see this, and then I'll wait, because it's, when in doubt, no reason to be in. It's much cleaner against the dollar. So, you know, I'd like to see that. I suppose the last one we'd look at, just to stay consistent, is we'd look at our 1 wave projected from our 4th wave. You know, possibly, you know, you're a few shy of the 100, but that potentially could play. We just have a truncated C wave, which is, you know, not unheard of, right? We don't get a new low in the C wave, right? We saw that, you know, the long-term charts on Bitcoin, we got a truncated wave structure. So this could play, but it's too many variables here. It could be too many different things, so why force the trade when it's so much better against the dollar? You see that, right? So I mean, everybody wants to trade alts against Bitcoin. You know, I don't care, right? I mean, I just want to make money, so I don't care if it's against the dollar or Bitcoin. You know, I can convert my dollars into Bitcoin if that's an issue. So I would tell you, don't get hung up on that. I get a lot of comments of people saying, "Hey man, would you do some analysis against Bitcoin? I only want to trade against Bitcoin." I don't understand that thinking, but you know, to each his own. But this is so much cleaner. So I would not be trading over here because of the uncertainty. But I love that I've got look at all the. You know, I've got a huge cluster telling me that I've got a potentially good low here. I've got a double bottom. I've got an impulsive move off of that double bottom. Why do I want to screw around over here where I'm not sure? This looks very strong to me. I'll stay over here and wait for that. It's one to watch. All right, I ran a little long. Okay, guys, that's it for right now.